Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome to Breakfast on the Class. Breakfast on the Class today is dedicated for the continued health of Chana Bat Semafega and for the complete and speedy refuah shlema for Eliyahu Shlomo Farhi. Dedicated in loving memory of Rabbi David Bibi's father, Joseph Bibi Alav Shalom. The Lu Nishmat Yosef Ben Esther for his yahrzeit sponsored by his family. Dedicated for the return of the hostages and in gratitude to the IDF sponsored by Denise and Leon Abudi. The year of Breakfast in the Class dedicated in loving memory of Nishmat Ruth Orfale Bat Adela, sponsored by our family. And finally, the learning for this week is dedicated by the Daniel S. Loeb Torah Center donors, Soli and Pauline Asa, dedicated in honor of our esteemed and growing community at the Edmund J. Safra Synagogue. Okay, let's begin with a beautiful pasuk. The pasuk says, Vayichad Yitro. Can anyone tell me what that means? Vayichad Yitro. Yeah. Huh? It means one? Huh? No, but that's a good guess, actually. From the Lashon Chad. Vayichad Yitro means, and Yitro was trembling, like he had goosebumps. Now, what's fascinating is that the Or HaHaim and Rashi seem to say slightly different things about what he was trembling over, what he got goosebumps from. Rashi says that the goosebumps that he got were goosebumps of fear, of sadness. To see all the destruction that happened in Egypt, Yitro was like shuddering almost, right? Not just trembling with happiness, right? But shuddering from the profound destruction that had been rained upon Egypt. Or HaHaim says, on the other hand, Vayichad actually means that he was trembling with joy, that he could not believe, he could not get over all the good that Hashem had done for the Jewish people. Now, it seems to be a little strange that you have two different interpretations, and they are what we call svarot hafuchot. What does that mean? Svarot hafuchot means absolutely contradictory logical reasoning. So in other words, if you're going to tell me one opinion that says like this, and you have another opinion that's like this, okay, fine, that's within the realm, the margin of error. But usually you don't find the scenario where the machloket is such that the differentiation is from wall to wall, completely from one side all the way to the other. One opinion says that he's shuddering from pain and sadness as to the destruction of the Egyptians, and the other side that talks about this trembling, how happy he was, overcome with gratitude for the Jews. It seems to be too far a leap for two different opinions to exist on such polar opposites. So the answer that I saw brought down, which really opens up what we want to talk together about today, is a very beautiful concept expressed by Rav Yeshua of Kutna. And he says as follows, and he says so beautifully. He says that there's many different languages, words that we use in Hebrew for joy. What other words do you know that represent happiness? Simcha, Sason, Rina, Gila, Ditza. What's this last one right after Ditza? Chedva. Says Rashi, says Or HaHaim, that's the origin source of the word Vayichad. From Lashon Chedva, from the joy of Chedva. Now, what's the difference between each one of these types of joys? We don't have time to go through each and every one and what makes them different one to the other. But this one alone, the commentators explain, do you know what Chedva means? Chedva means when a person has a lot of pain. There's a lot of sadness. But the person realizes that in that sadness is a source and an opportunity for true happiness. And they let their happiness overcome their sadness. My friends, I don't know if you remember, there's a rabbi from Israel. He actually came to the synagogue. His name is Rabbi Doron Perez. You might remember him from the war. A time when one of his sons was in Gaza at the time when his other son was getting married. And then they found out that his son actually passed away. You remember this? And they're under the chuppah. One son's getting married, one son has just been killed. I remember a wedding I was at a little while ago, where the person, unfortunately, his wife passed away in a tragedy, got remarried, amazing guy. So happy with his wife, his second wife. But under the chuppah, when he was marrying off the son that they had together, you could see the emotion that he was standing there without his wife under the chuppah. She'd passed away so young that he was trying to marry the world of pain and the world of happiness. And there's tears running down his face when they're singing the berachot under the chuppah. But what's amazing is, I'll never forget, when they cracked the glass, all of a sudden you just saw, like boom, he snapped out of it. That moment is a moment of chedva. A moment where I have what to cry about. And I'm not ignoring that pain. But I'm choosing to be able to find happiness inside of that pain. That is the idea of chedva. Says Rabbi Yoshua Kutna, Yitro was someone whose history was in Egypt. He was one of the advisors to Paro. This was a country that not only he lived in, but he helped build. And he felt a very distinct form of sadness that the Egypt that he'd helped to build by advising Pharaoh was now laid to waste, was now destroyed. But at the same time, as a person who was joining the Jewish people, he felt a tremendous happiness in that sadness. And that's how the Or HaHaim and Rashi both live together in the same word. Now, let me just bump up this idea of the Or HaHaim and Rashi dancing together. It's not that they have two different ideas that overlap. That's not what it is. It's that the same word, vayichad, which means that there was goosebumps, the same goosebumps were for happy and sad. I need to share with you how profound that idea is and how important an idea it is for being a Jew. The pasuk says, Gilu bir'ada. You don't know what that means? Gilu means rejoice. Bir'ada. What does bir'ada mean? Right? When a person is trembling. An earthquake is called Re'idat Adama. So Gilu bir'ada means that on a simple level, Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha. A person should serve Hashem with happiness. So what do we understand? That's when a person is happy. So you're either happy or you're sad. But what Judaism actually shares with us is that the nature of human emotion can actually be both at the same time. When Am Yisrael wins a war, and there's a rejoicing over the winning of the war, but at the same time, the cost of the war was hundreds or thousands of young lives snuffed out from Tzahal. Is it a happy time, that victory, or a sad time? Both. When a person loses somebody who achieved the most unbelievable things in the life that they had here on earth, and they build a building in the year of Shiva, in the year of mourning, and they do the unveiling and they pull across the curtain, and the person sees his father's name on top of a yeshiva building. What is the feeling that he's feeling? It's sadness and happiness. It's missing the person terribly, but also an unbelievable sense of pride. The nature of what a Jew means to be is to be a person of complex emotions. Not to be one-dimensional. Not to think that there's only happy or only sad. In a world that is trying desperately to oversimplify things, these people are good, these people are bad. Police brutality is a problem, so you know what? Defund the whole police. It's madness. But animals are incapable of complex thought. A dog is either wagging its tail or not. It's either or very happy. Are we a kelb? Are we a dog? As human beings, we're capable of understanding sophisticated, difficult thought. Let me tell you why mastering this is so important. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we know, as two names that are used predominantly throughout the time where we talk about God. One name is Yud Ke Vav Ke. One name is Elokim. In fact, in every single beracha that you'll make throughout your whole life, you're going to mention both of those names. Baruch Ata Amonai, Elokeinu Melech HaOlam. What's the difference between those two names of God? So everybody knows, Yud Ke Vav Ke, that name, relates to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in His mercy. Elokeinu means Hashem is a God, is a master, is the ultimate power of deen, of judgment. In Judaism, the ultimate statement of faith, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, says that the God of mercy is also the same God as the God of justice, of deen. One of the biggest challenges that our world faces is our inability to synthesize two midot simultaneously. So what do? We choose one or the other. Either we get angry and we discipline a child with no mercy, we scream, we yell, we cut down to size, we embarrass, we humiliate because we're in deen mode. How could you do this? What kind of person is that? Mo'aib, death and destruction. Deen. Or, what do we say? Tremendous rachamim, to the point where the child is so spoiled they have no discipline in their life. You know what ruins child raising? Being able to bring up good children? An inability to synthesize those two things, to simultaneously have what's called chesed shebigvura, and alternately gvura shebechesed. Those two concepts are what will allow a person to have good chinuch. In a marriage, what does a person need in order to be able to have a good marriage? They need to be flexible. But at the same time, they need to not be so flexible that the person stops existing as a person. That you train the other person to literally see you as a doormat and not to respect your existence and not to honor your space. Those two things, if you don't have both of them, you have no marriage. You have no education for your children. If a person is stingy with every penny because you know what, it's not worth it, this world, hevel havalim, nothing is worth anything. You could be a person who eats bread and water, walking around with holes in your clothing. Or you could be the person that spends so much money in Prada and buys designer jeans for $5,000, which ironically also have holes in them. Where is any sense of balance? Balance is found in understanding that we are not one-dimensional beings. We don't exist in one dimension. It is possible for us to be in two places at the same time. Let me give you an example of this concept. A wife comes to her husband, or a husband comes to his wife, whichever way it works. And they're upset about something. They tell him, you don't know what happened. So difficult at my job. I had this issue with my father, with my brother at work. Anyway, imagine, what does his wife say to him? What does the spouse say? You're absolutely right. It's completely out of order. It's a disaster. I can't believe he said that. I can't believe he behaved that way. Can't let him get away with it. What does she do? She becomes, right, gasoline on his fire. And instead of talking him down, right, what did she do? She made everything worse. He's now more upset, more angry, more likely to deal with the situation poorly. Now, why did she choose to do that? Because she's trying to be a good wife. Husband came home upset. How would she react if she said, you know something, you're overreacting, it's probably not such a big deal, calm down. What would the guy say to his wife if she said that? You don't support me, you're not in my corner, you never back me, blah, blah, blah. What does a smart wife have to do? What does a smart husband have to do? Gilu bir'ada. They need to be able to communicate that is very difficult. That is very painful. But if we react out of pain, what we'll probably do? We'll probably make the situation worse. You don't think that your father respects you and he's not bringing you in and he's not giving you more position in the business. You don't think that your boss treated you correctly. So what are you going to do? You're going to blow off the steam. You're going to go and yell at him. And now what's going to happen? You think he's going to treat you better because of that? Yeah. What we're learning from over here is Yitro, from the Or HaHaim and Rashi together, is that a person could tremble and the same goosebumps that are joyous are also sad. I'm so upset that you went through that. But let's think what the best way to deal with this is so that the problem goes away and we don't make the problem worse. That's a real wife and a real husband. A father who sees a child that's done something wrong and destroys the child for what they've done wrong, but doesn't feel, why is the child making that mistake? I can't believe you're hanging out with this person that's such a terrible influence. La 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 la. I forbid you, ever have parents like this? I forbid you to be friends with them. Guinness Book of World Records brings down the one time that actually worked. That never works. Maybe a good question to ask is, why is your son drawn to that person? A good question to ask is, maybe my child doesn't have any other friends. A good question to ask is it possible that my child has elements of their personality that I'm not aware of? And actually, this guy is not a bad influence on my son. My son is the bad influence on him. But a person who's not capable of having both thoughts at the same time will always make a mistake. You'll either undercorrect or you'll overcorrect. That's the gorgeous lesson we have in Yetziat Yitro. Beautiful. Let's end with this. I'd like to suggest that maybe, just maybe, the difference between a person who lives a happy life and a person who lives a miserable life is also found in these words. Because in this world, we can never experience an experience of kulo tov. How do we describe olam haba? Yom shekulo tov. A day which is all good. Olam haba is all good. This world is not all good. In all goodness, in all beautiful things, there's also difficulty. You have kids, Baruch Hashem, your kids might be difficult. You have a business, Baruch Hashem, the business is struggling. You have a house, Baruch Hashem, there's a problem with the roof. A person who's incapable of simultaneously conflicting emotions and ideas winds up being in a state in his life where he's constantly worried, anxious, upset, nervous. A person who understands that I could be nervous and happy, I could be sad and happy. Sad is not the opposite of happy. Happy is not the opposite of sad. Someone told me the other day, Rabbi, I was at a wedding, and a family member was just no smile on their face. So I said, I see you very nervous. Is everything all right? Anyway, what is the mother of the young couple? What does she say? She says, I can't. I'm so nervous. There's so many things, the flowers, the music, the this, the that. Something's gonna go wrong. I can't relax. Relax, gematria Valium, okay? Some people need help conquering their anxiety. And they need therapy or medication. And they should take it. Either the therapy or the medication. But my friends, I just want to point out how crazy this is. The day of a wedding is Yom Simchat Libo, right? Ba'atara she'itira lo immo. When the crown that his mother put on his head, on the day that she be, right? Yom Simchat Libo, on the day of the happiness of his heart. And what did you let steal from you your happiness? Dead plants, otherwise known as flowers. It's crazy. Now, on the extreme, you'll find someone at the happiest day of their life, not happy because they can't feel nervous and happy. But my friends, for many people, it's not something that small. It's a mild thing. You're coming home to a wife, family, home, couch, nice cooked meal, and all you're thinking about is how the day went badly at work. You know what you could do? Don't try and ignore your work. Because today, modern psychology will tell you, you know what you need to do if you want to overcome that? Focus only on the positive. I saw the most hilarious video the other day. The mother asked this little girl, she says, why are you smiling? She said, because Dad called me pretty. She goes, oh. Anyway, Dad says, I didn't call you pretty. I called you pretty annoying. She goes, but I like to focus on the positive. Dad called me pretty. Modern psychology says, focus on the positive. I think it's terrible advice. You know what happens when you don't focus on the negative? You don't fix the negative. Now you could ignore the negative and focus on the positive, inviting more negative to come into your life, which makes it then harder to focus on the positive, which then again ratchets up to harder to focus on the positive, and you're battling your whole life to focus on the positive, or to have this midah of chedva, where I could fully embrace what's negative over here. You know something? One of the 5 pieces of the band is not here. And that's sad. But there's 4 pieces that are. I'm coming home, I have a very bad day at work. But you know something? My day at work was for this. The only reason why I'm working and I want to succeed is for these people that I just walked into, to give them a good life. Why would I take my anger and sadness and anxiety of work, which was to give them happiness, and make them unhappy? Holding both in your hands allows you to fully feel what's going on around you, allows you to process, not to live in denial, to fix the negative things, but at the same time, like we say, im kol zeh, even with all of this, there's still great source to be able to be happy. I'd like to wish all of us a beracha, that we are zocheh to be able to inculcate and bring this midah into our lives, to have chedva bimkomo, to have this beautiful gift of the ability to smile through tears, to not divorce or push away or deny the difficulty or the sadness of a situation, the challenges of a situation, but to relish the joy that exists within those challenges, and that allows a person to do something great. Someone said to me, Rabbi, you look exhausted. I was running from one class to another class, from a different thing to another thing, to a wedding. I had to run out of the wedding to celebrate a siyum. Someone said to me, Rabbi, your day is crazy. I can't imagine. You should take it easy. I said, you know how happy it makes me to know that the reason why I'm this exhausted is because I used all my kochot on things that I would love to use my kochot for. What do you want me to do? Go home and sleep and not enjoy this siyum? What do you want me to do? Not go to the wedding for the couple that are like literally like kids to me? Do you know the joy that I have? There's a joy in exhaustion. You worked really hard on parenting a child. You could feel that as frustration, or you could feel that as the most beautiful investment you ever made. You could have a very difficult conversation with someone that you love and walk away and feel, I'm so happy. I just had the most important conversation with them. And I really believe that that important, difficult conversation will make a difference to someone that I love. Would you rather have not had that conversation and let them keep drowning? That's chedva. Sophisticated people are not afraid of feeling two things at the same time. Roses are red, violets are blue, I'm schizophrenic, and so am I. Baruch Hanai Leolam, Amen ve'amen. Rabbi Chananya ben Akasha.